people call this innovation. It might be damage control. Apple is about to launch the iPhone 18 Pro, and if you've only read the headlines, you'd think Cupertino just invented electricity, bigger battery, in-house modem, a 20-chip on a 2-nanometer process, Samsung camera sensors, variable aperture. The list reads like a tech enthusiast's wish list fulfilled, but something about this move feels more like pressure than confidence. This isn't a company flexing. This is a company sprinting to catch up and hoping you don't notice they're sweating. Let's start with the most telling detail. Apple is making the iPhone 18 Pro Max thicker. Again, 2 years in a row, they've increased thickness to fit a larger battery. Rumors suggest the Pro Max will hit 5,000 plus milliamps, possibly even 5,200 milliamps in some regions. That's a significant jump from previous generations, and Apple will surely market it as our best battery life ever. But here's what the press releases won't tell you. This is an admission of defeat. For years, Apple championed thinness as a design virtue. Jony Ive's obsession with shaving millimeters became gospel. Meanwhile, Chinese manufacturers Xiaomi, OnePlus, Vivo were quietly stuffing 5,000 plus milliamps batteries into phones that charged in 20 minutes. Samsung got there too. The S24 Ultra sits at 5,000 milliamps with a larger screen and comparable thickness to Apple's offerings. Apple spent a decade telling you that battery anxiety was your problem for not charging correctly. Now they're quietly admitting it was their problem all along. The weight tells the same story. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is rumored to hit 243 grams, Apple's heaviest phone ever. That's heavier than most Android flagships, and it directly contradicts the light and premium feel that Apple used to justify smaller batteries. When a company abandons a core design principle they evangelized for years, that's not innovation, that's correction. Online tech enthusiasts will debate the milliamps numbers and quote battery test results. In real life, most people won't notice the extra battery life as much as they'll notice their phone feeling like a brick in their pocket. The silent majority doesn't care about efficiency gains from the C2 modem. They care that their phone is now heavier than the bloated Android their friend bought 3 years ago. This one is personal. Apple has wanted to dump Qualcomm for years. The legal battles, the licensing fees, the public fights that made Apple look dependent on a company they openly despised. It's been a bruise on Apple's ego for a decade. Remember when Apple briefly used Intel modems rather than pay Qualcomm? The result was iPhones with notably worse cellular performance. Apple swallowed that pill publicly while privately accelerating their in-house modem development. The C2 modem is reportedly ready for prime time. It's supposed to offer better efficiency than Qualcomm's chips while finally supporting M-Wave, a key omission from Apple's earlier C1 modem. If rumors hold, the iPhone 18 Pro will be the first flagship to ship with Apple's own 5G solution across the board. On paper, this is a technical triumph. In reality, this is about control. Apple doesn't just want to own the processor, they want to own the entire signal chain, from the antenna to the modem to the operating system. Vertical integration is Apple's religion, and Qualcomm was the last major heretic standing between them and complete silicon sovereignty. But here's the quiet fear. First generation, anything carries risk. Remember Apple Maps, Siri, the butterfly keyboard? Apple's track record with version 1.0 products is mixed at best. The C1 modem in the iPhone 16 was a warm-up act limited to lower-end models, missing M-Wave, not ready for the flagship stage. The C2 is the real debut. And if there are connectivity issues, dropped calls, or reception complaints, Apple won't be able to blame Qualcomm anymore. Most users won't know or care whose modem is inside their phone. They'll just notice if their calls drop more often. And Apple is betting the company's connectivity reputation on a chip they've never deployed at this scale. This one stopped me. Apple is reportedly partnering with Samsung for camera sensors on the iPhone 18 Pro. Let that sink in. Samsung, the company Apple has spent years mocking in keynotes, the company whose phones are consistently framed as the imitation to Apple's innovation, is now supplying critical imaging components for Apple's flagship camera. Some rumors suggest a 200 megapixel sensor. Others say 48 megapixels will remain, but with Samsung's stacked CMOS technology. Either way, the story is the same. Sony dropped the ball and Samsung picked it up. Sony has been Apple's camera sensor partner for years. They've supplied the imaging hardware for every recent iPhone, but Sony got comfortable. They saw Samsung's sensor advancements. Samsung's own phones have used excellent in-house sensors for years and assumed their Apple relationship was safe. It wasn't. This is Samsung playing the long game. They couldn't beat Apple in phone sales, so they became essential to Apple's supply chain. Samsung Display already makes the screens for iPhones. Now Samsung System LSI might make the camera sensors too. Samsung doesn't need to outsell the iPhone to win, they just need the iPhone to need them. For Apple, this is a pragmatic decision. Samsung makes excellent sensors. If Sony's technology fell behind, Apple owes them nothing. Loyalty in component partnerships lasts exactly as long as the competitive edge does. But the optics are fascinating. When Apple inevitably markets the iPhone 18 Pro's camera as revolutionary, they'll conveniently skip the part where the revolution came from their biggest rival's sensor division. Tech enthusiasts will notice, normal users won't. And that's exactly how Apple wants it. Variable aperture. It's one of the most requested camera features among photography enthusiasts, and Apple is finally delivering it on the iPhone 18 Pro. Samsung had this on the Galaxy S9 in 2018. That's an 8-year gap. 8 years of Samsung phones letting users switch between f1.5 and f2.4 apertures for different lighting conditions. 8 years of Huawei, Honor, and other Chinese manufacturers perfecting variable aperture implementations. 8 years of Apple users asking, why can't we have that, and getting silence in return. Now Apple is finally adding it, and they'll present it as a breakthrough. The keynote will show dramatic low-light comparisons. The marketing will call it pro-level photography. The tech press will write headlines about Apple's commitment to camera innovation. What they won't mention is that Apple is late, again, not fashionably late, embarrassingly late. The kind of late where the feature has already cycled through multiple generations of competitor phones and been refined to the point where Apple is essentially copying a solved problem. This is Apple's pattern. They rarely innovate first. They refine, they wait until a feature is proven, then implement it with polish and market the hell out of it. Sometimes that works. Face ID was late to biometrics, but executed better than anyone else. Sometimes it feels like catch-up dressed as leadership. Variable aperture falls into the latter category. It's not a bad feature. It's genuinely useful for photography. But when Apple's most loyal customers have been asking for it for the better part of a decade, and competitors have had it working for years, this isn't innovation. It's a response to competitive pressure that Apple can no longer ignore. There's a reason Apple is pushing so hard on hardware this generation. Apple Intelligence was supposed to be the iPhone 17's flagship feature. It wasn't ready. Key AI capabilities were delayed. The features that did launch felt half-baked compared to what Google and Samsung were already offering. Apple, the company that defines itself by polish and readiness, shipped an AI product that felt like a beta. The iPhone 18 Pro is Apple's chance to fix that. Rumors point to iOS 27 bringing deeper Apple Intelligence integration and a more refined Siri experience. The A20 Pro chips, 2-nanometer process, and WMCM packaging will supposedly enable more advanced AI features. Higher performance RAM from Samsung will deliver greater bandwidth for AI workloads. Read between the lines, Apple is behind on AI and they know it. Google has Gemini deeply integrated into Pixels. Samsung has Galaxy AI across their lineup. Both companies have been shipping practical AI features, live translation, generative photo editing, real time transcription for over a year. Apple is still playing catch up on Siri, the most basic AI assistant feature imaginable. The hardware upgrades in the iPhone 18 Pro aren't just about performance, they're about AI credibility. Apple needs the A20 Pro to be an AI powerhouse because their software story is weak. They need the extra RAM and bandwidth because their AI models are finally getting ambitious. They need the efficiency gains because AI features are battery hungry. This isn't a company leading the AI revolution. This is a company racing to not be left behind. The iPhone 18 Pro's entire value proposition is being built around AI features that competitors have had working for years. Apple isn't setting the pace here. They're trying to stay on the track. Here's a detail most people will miss. Rumors suggest the regular iPhone 18 might skip the fall 2026 launch entirely, releasing instead in spring 2027. The Pro models would launch in September as usual, giving them 6 months of exclusive attention before the vanilla model arrives. This isn't about production schedules, this is about pricing psychology. Apple wants more people buying Pro models. The margins are higher, the lock-in is stronger, the ecosystem attachment is deeper. By releasing the Pro models first, Apple creates a 6-month window where there is no new regular iPhone, only the old one at a discount or the new Pro at full price. Many consumers who would have waited for the regular iPhone 18 will instead pull the trigger on the Pro. The logic is simple. If I'm upgrading anyway, might as well get the better one. The 6-month gap removes the I'll wait for the cheaper new model option from the decision tree. This is chess, not checkers. Apple is quietly redefining what new iPhone means. If you want the latest iPhone in fall 2026, your only option is Pro. The regular model becomes a spring refresh, a second-tier product that doesn't get the flagship launch window. It's a subtle way of pushing the entire product line upmarket without officially raising prices. Tech enthusiasts will analyze this as a production issue. Normal users will simply see ads for the new iPhone, which will exclusively feature the Pro models, and make their purchasing decisions accordingly. Most won't even realize a regular iPhone 18 exists until it's already 6 months late. One more thing, Apple was supposed to kill the dynamic island this year. Earlier rumors suggested under-display Face ID was finally ready, allowing Apple to shrink or eliminate the pill-shaped cutout entirely. Reputable leakers like Ross Young and Digital Chat Station were confident the iPhone 18 Pro would feature a punch-hole camera, Android style. That's apparently not happening. The dynamic island is staying, maybe shrinking slightly, but fundamentally unchanged. After all the marketing about how dynamic and intelligent this interface element is, Apple is stuck with it. They built an entire interaction paradigm around a cutout, and now they can't remove it without breaking the design language. This reveals something interesting about Apple's design philosophy. When they commit to a visual element, they commit hard. The notch lasted 5 years. The dynamic island is on year 4 and counting. Apple could have gone punch hole years ago. They had the technology, but the dynamic island became part of the iPhone's identity. Removing it now would require finding a new identity. Android manufacturers switch cutout styles constantly. Notch, punch hole, under display camera, pill. They chase the cleanest screen like it's a finish line. Apple treats the cutout as real estate, a place where things happen, where software meets hardware in visible ways. It's a different philosophy, and whether you prefer it or not, it's deeply intentional, but there's also a pragmatic reality here. Under display, Face ID is hard. Getting reliable facial recognition through a screen layer without compromising security or speed is an engineering nightmare. Samsung still hasn't done it, neither has Google. Apple isn't alone in struggling here. They're just the company that built their entire biometric identity around it. So what's actually happening here? The iPhone 18 Pro is shaping up to be a significant upgrade on paper. Better battery, in-house modem, new camera sensors, faster chip, more RAM, variable aperture, thicker, heavier, more capable. If you're an iPhone user due for an upgrade, this will be a compelling option. But don't mistake accumulation for innovation. Apple is responding to competitive pressure across multiple fronts. Battery life, Chinese phones and Samsung forced their hand. Modem, Qualcomm forced their hand. Camera sensors, Sony stagnation forced their hand. Variable aperture, 8 years of competitors having it force their hand. AI, Google and Samsung force their hand. None of this is to say the iPhone 18 Pro won't be good. It probably will be. Apple is excellent at execution. They take features that others pioneered and polish them until they feel native to the iPhone experience. That's a legitimate skill, and it produces genuinely excellent products. But let's be honest about what this is. This is Apple playing defense dressed as offense. This is a company that spent years telling you what you didn't need. Bigger batteries, more RAM, variable aperture, and is now quietly admitting that you actually did need those things. This is damage control repackaged as evolution. The tech press will call it Apple's biggest upgrade in years. Enthusiasts will debate benchmark scores and efficiency percentages. Early adopters will line up to buy it. And maybe that's fine. A good phone is a good phone regardless of the strategic backstory. The iPhone 18 Pro will serve its users well. It will take excellent photos, last all day, and integrate seamlessly into the Apple ecosystem. Just don't let the marketing convince you this is Apple leading the industry forward. This is Apple catching up, and catching up, no matter how elegantly executed, is not the same thing as leading. See you next one. Peace.